Welcome to that handicapping show at bloodhorse.com. I'm Tom LaMarra, joined again by Pete Denk. We've had a brief hiatus. We thank Claire and Frank for filling in for us the last couple weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, I forget. Real quick recap of the Kentucky Derby, of course, won by Orb, and we want to give a shout out to Claire and Frank for picking the winner on the show. Not easy to pick the winner of a 19-horse race, and quite frankly, in retrospect, the $12 payoff was pretty good. Pete Denk was not on the show. However, Pete hit the trifecta, which paid pretty darn well, I think. And we had a pedigree blog on the website written by Ian Tapp, who looked at the pedigrees of all the horses and came up with the three that would get the distance, and he hit the exact and not the try, but $980, again, not too bad. As for me, let's move on to the Peter Pan Stakes. This week's race, 1 1/8 miles around one turn at Belmont Park. Kind of a tricky distance for me. The 1 turn mile, I think, is a little bit easier to handicap. 1 1/8 miles around one turn, when you're used to 2 turns or even 3 turns in the case of the Charlestown Classic, this is tough. 3-year-olds, pretty full field. Looks like a wide open race to me. I tend to lean toward horses who I think will be relatively close to the pace. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, this pace scenario is there for the taking if any of, probably one of 4 or 5 jockeys wants the top. The pace looks soft. I think Freedom Child's going to get sent from the rail in all likelihood. But Battier, Abraham, Narvaez, and St. Vigor, any of those horses would love to be, sitting on 25-second fractions up front, and it shouldn't be fast, whoever goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There is a field of 11, and Pete and I did not come up with many of the same horses, which is a good thing because you can kind of maybe pick and choose the ones that you think that we may be right on, but of course we'll find out on Saturday. Who do you like in the race? Who is your top horse in the race? And then you can talk about the other ones that you like.
Yeah, we don't have morning lines yet.
We don't.
I think Declan's Warrior may be the chalk. He's coming in off a win in the Bayshore, and he's probably the fastest horse in the race. But he's never been beyond 7.5 furlongs. And, there's that classic trap scenario where you look at a sprinter that's been closing, stretching out. It's never a great idea to take a really short price on a horse doing something for the first time, and Declan's Warrior will be going beyond a mile for the first time. That being said, I think he is probably the right horse for as the favorite here, either him or Incognito. Declan's Warrior has been closing with really good energy and showing some good skills. I looked up his pedigree to see if he's vulnerable at 9 furlongs, and I actually think he looks okay. He's out of a St. Bellato mare, who was actually a 9 to 10 furlong horse, and he's by Majestic Warrior. So I think when paired with a mare like that, I can play a Majestic Warrior going at a 1 turn 9 furlong distance. The other horse I mentioned is Incognito. This is an AP Indy out of a classy Grade 1 winning mare named Octave. And Incognito's pretty much been finishing really strongly in all of his races since the debut. He's coming off a non-winners of 1 win that is worth watching for the trouble note. He was trying to get out at the head of the lane, and a horse kept slamming him back in. Incognito found a seam, and he kind of came through between horses and won from the inside, a trip that's really hard to do to get the momentum there. And he's going to get played off that trip, I would assume. If either Declan's Warrior or Incognito were a price here, they would be my play. They're my 2 top picks.
Okay, all right. My top pick is St. Vigor, trained by Chad Brown. Won allowance race at Aqueduct, 1 1/8 miles. That's a 2-turn race, and so he's not cutting back in distance, but he is cutting back to 1 turn. The horse has won twice since he added blinkers, and 3 starts back at Aqueduct last year. Ran second to Black Onyx, who won this year's Spiral Stakes. Looks like an improving type, smart strike colt, who has enough speed, I think, to be mid-pack, maybe a little bit closer. I think he's on the improve. A few others that I will use underneath. Narvaez, who actually finished in a dead heat with Declan's Warrior in that 7.5 furlong race at Gulfstream. Since then, he's stretched out to 1 1/8 in the Florida Derby and the Illinois Derby. So-so efforts, but he does have some speed. And, you know, he's run against Departing Orb. It's My Lucky Day. I think he may appreciate what I think is a slight drop in class, but of course these are improving horses. So my name is Michael. One start on the dirt. It was in the Sam Davis. Nice closing third as the favorite in that race. And then off the board in the Spiral and the Bluegrass on the poly track. So this horse has run well in his only dirt start. I'm going to use him as well.
I thought, you mentioned that dead heat run between Narvaez and Declan's Warrior. I really thought Declan's Warrior waited on him and kind of toyed with him that day. He galloped out in front. Narvaez should be a big price here, though. I think for betting purposes, I'm going to go with Declan's Warrior. We haven't seen the odds yet. I think he's probably the fastest horse in the race. Incognito might be a little bit more interesting down the line in a race like the Belmont Stakes. And this race is generally considered a prep for that. So for betting purposes right now, 48 hours out, I'm just going to go 20 to win on Declan's Warrior.
Okay. All right. I'm using Saint Vigaire on top and bottom of 4 other horses. I am going to also throw in Fear the Kitten. Forgot about him. So that's this week's that handicapping show, the Peter Pan at Belmont Park. We hope you enjoy the race and the racing weekend. And again, we thank Briss for the past performances. For Pete, I'm Tom. We'll see you next time on that handicapping show.